Ventriloquism, or ventriloquy, is an act of stagecraft in which a person changes his or her voice so that it appears that the voice is coming from elsewhere, usually a puppeteered dummy. The act of ventriloquism is ventriloquizing, and the ability to do so is commonly called in English the ability to throw one's voice. History. Origins. Originally, ventriloquism was a religious practice. The name comes from the Latin for to speak from the stomach, i.e. venter and loqui. The Greeks called this gastromancy. The noises produced by the stomach were thought to be the voices of the unliving, who took up residence in the stomach of the ventriloquist. The ventriloquist would then interpret the sounds, as they were thought to be able to speak to the dead, as well as foretell the future. One of the earliest recorded group of prophets to utilize this technique was the Pythia, the priestess at the temple of Apollo in Delphi, who acted as the conduit for the Delphic oracle. One of the most successful early gastromancers was Eurycles, a prophet at Athens. Gastromancers came to be referred to as Euryclides in his honor. In the Middle Ages, it was thought to be similar to witchcraft, as spiritualism led to stage magic and escapology, so ventriloquism became more of a performance art as, starting around the 19th century, it shed its mystical trappings. Other parts of the world also have a tradition of ventriloquism for ritual or religious purposes. Historically, there have been adepts of this practice among the Zulu, Inuit, and Maori peoples. Emergence as entertainment. The shift from ventriloquism as manifestation of spiritual forces toward ventriloquism as entertainment happened in the 18th century at the traveling fun fairs and market towns. The earliest example of a ventriloquist dates back to 1753 in England, where Sir John Parnell is depicted in an engraving of William Hogarth as speaking via his hand. In 1757, the Austrian Baron de Mengen is known to have implemented a small doll into his performance. By the late 18th century, ventriloquist performances were an established form of entertainment in England, although most performers threw the voice to make it appear that it emanated from far away, rather than the modern method of using a puppet. A well-known ventriloquist of the period, Joseph Askins, who performed at the Sadler's Wells Theatre in London in the 1790s, advertised his act as curious ad libitum dialogues between himself and his invisible familiar, Little Tommy. However, other performers were beginning to incorporate dolls or puppets into the performance, notably the Irishman James Byrne, who carries in his pocket an ill-shaped doll with a broad face, which he exhibits as giving utterance to his own childish jargon, and Thomas Garbutt. The entertainment came of age during the era of the music hall in the United Kingdom and vaudeville in the United States. George Sutton began to incorporate a puppet act into his routine at Nottingham in the 1830s. But it is Fred Russell who is regarded as the father of modern ventriloquism. In 1886, he was offered a professional engagement at the Palace Theatre in London and took up his stage career permanently. His act, based on the cheeky boy dummy Costa Joe that would sit in his lap and engage in a dialogue with him, was highly influential for the entertainment format and was adopted by the next generation of performers. Fred Russell's successful comedy team format was applied by the next generation of ventriloquists. It was taken forward by the British Arthur Prince with his dummy Sailor Jim, who became one of the highest-paid entertainers on the music hall circuit, and by the Americans the Great Lester, Frank Byron, Jr., and Edgar Bergen. Bergen popularized the idea of the comedic ventriloquist. Bergen, together with his favorite figure, Charlie McCarthy, hosted a radio program that was broadcast from 1937 to 1956. It was the #1 program on the nights it aired. Bergen continued performing until his death in 1978, and his popularity inspired many other famous ventriloquists who followed him, including Paul Winchell, Jimmy Nelson, David Strassman, Jeff Dunham, Terry Fator, Wayland Flowers, Shari Lewis, Willie Tyler, and Jay Johnson. Another ventriloquist popular in the United States in the 1950s and 1960s was Senor Wentz. The art of ventriloquism was popularized by Y.K. Padye in North India and M.M. Roy in South India, who are believed to be the pioneers of this field in India. Y.K. Padye's son Ramdas Padye borrowed from him and made the art popular amongst the masses through his performance on television. Ramdas Padye's son Satyajit Padye is also a ventriloquist. Similarly, Indusri, a female ventriloquist from Bangalore, has contributed a lot to the art. She performs with 3 dummies simultaneously. Venki Monkey and Mimicry Srinivas, the disciples of M.M. Roy, popularized this art by giving shows in India and abroad. Mimicry Srinivas, in particular, did several experiments in ventriloquism. He has popularized this art, calling it sound illusion. Quote, "He goes into the audience without a microphone and entertains with point-blank sound illusion in addition to entertaining on stage with dummies." Ventriloquism's popularity waned for a while, probably because of modern media's electronic ability to convey the illusion of voice, the natural special effect that is the heart of ventriloquism. In the UK, in the 2000s there were only 15 full-time professional ventriloquists, down from around 400 in the 50s and 60s. A number of modern ventriloquists have developed a following as the public taste for live comedy grows. In 2001, Angelique Monet performed on Theatre Row her one-woman off-Broadway show Multiple Me, where she portrayed several personalities using multiple dummies to display the shifts. In 2007, Zilla and Amp Tot won the first season of Sweden's Got Talent and became one of Sweden's most popular family children entertainers, making the right sounds. One difficulty ventriloquists face is that all the sounds that they make must be made with lips slightly separated. For the labial sounds F, V, B, P, and M, the only choice is to replace them with others. A widely parodied example of this difficulty is the Gotalogia, for the reputed inability of less skilled practitioners to pronounce bottle of beer. If variations of the sounds th, d, t, and n are spoken quickly, it can be difficult for listeners to notice a difference. Ventriloquist's dummy. Modern ventriloquists utilize a variety of different types of puppets in the presentations, ranging from soft cloth foam puppets, flexible latex puppets, and the traditional and familiar hard-headed knee figure. The classic dummies used by ventriloquists vary in size anywhere from 12 inches tall to human size and larger, with the height usually falling between 34 and 42 inches. Traditionally, this type of puppet has been made from papier-mâché or wood. In modern times, other materials are often employed, including fiberglass reinforced resins, urethanes, filled latex, and neoprene. Great names in the history of dummy making include Jeff Dunham, Frank Marshall, Theo Mackinson, Ravello Pitti, Kenneth Spencer, Cecil Gott, and Glenn Amp. George McElroy. The McElroy brothers' figures are still considered by many ventriloquists as the apex of complex movement mechanics, with as many as 15 facial and head movements controlled by interior finger keys and switches. Jeff Dunham once referred to McElroy figures as the Stradivarius of dummies. Fear of ventriloquists' dummies. Films and programs which refer to dummies that are alive and frightening include Magic, Dead of Night, The Twilight Zone, Poltergeist, Devil Doll, Dead Silence, Child's Play, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Goosebumps, Seinfeld, Alf, and Doctor Who in different episodes. Literary examples of frightening ventriloquist dummies include Gerald Kirsch's The Horrible Dummy and the story The Glass Eye by John Keir Cross.